Now it's showtime, folks. And you can be sure it's the best show in town.
Prepare this man for surgery.
Welcome to the Midnight Drive-In. Join the historian of horror, Lee Bridges, the movie aristocrat, Garrick Lane, and the phantom of reason, Mark Rose, for a forgettable hour of your life that you'll never get back. So please, make sure you cut your car off and roll your window down. This is Midnight Drive-In.
You see? Your stupid minds. Stupid. Stupid.
Welcome to Midnight Drive-In, episode 10. How are we doing out there at podcast land? I'm with my co-host Mark Rose and Lee Bridges.
Howdy.
How's it going?
We just watched a film that we're going to be reviewing. Okay, so let's first get to our sponsors, Golden Ticket Cinema. It's a two-screen theater, Lenore, North Carolina, gtcinemas.com. They have reclining seating. They've got great deals on Tuesdays, and they have a lot more of events coming up, which we will get to at the end of the show. We have Roadhouse Pictures. Anything you need for your video and marketing needs, we are there. Check them out at roadhousepictures.com. And, well, let's get into the show. What'd you guys do? A good week? Did you guys have a good week?
Very good week.
Great week.
Yeah. Saw the new Mission Impossible in the theater.
Oh, tell me.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's
got to be the best blockbuster of the summer. It really is. Like I probably the best action movie I've seen in the theater in probably a couple years.
Tom Cruise still got it?
He still got the stunts are ridiculous. Like the scene in Die Hard when he's hanging inside the air vent, my palms sweat like a little bit when he drops down and then catches himself. My palms are literally dripping with sweat. Like the stunts are just ridiculous.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I heard it was awesome.
It really is.
The show was fantastic.
But unlike this one actually ties into the previous one. It's not a standalone like the rest of them. So I think that actually makes it a much better movie.
Well, that's one of those ones that I really wanted to see, and I didn't get to see it. And partly because the only time I could see it was at like 10:30 at night.
Right.
I was going to go to Golden Ticket, obviously, and see it. And their last show was 10:30 at night, and it's 2.5 hours, right? It's a long movie.
Yeah, it's probably somewhere around there.
That's a lot of action.
Yeah.
That's a lot of action. Did you see that one?
I did not, no. So you have to have seen the other ones. You can't just
You can. I mean, it's they tell you pretty much everything you need to know. Yeah. I've seen them all, but I think you can go into it without seeing it. I mean, but it's actually probably has the best story out of any of them. Like you can learn actually more about the Ethan Hunt character that Tom Cruise plays. But the stunts are just. I mean, I would literally just watch a movie called Tom Cruise doing stunts. And so.
How many of those were there? The Mission Impossible films.
This is the sixth one.
Because I know that there's a couple in there that I haven't seen.
Right. Yeah. Since 3, which is the one J.J. Abrams directed, they've improved. Each one has gotten incrementally better, I think. Speaking
of J.J. Abrams, the new Star Trek, I heard there will not be the same Captain Kirk.
That's what I heard, yes. They had negotiations broke down, so there may be a new Captain Kirk.
I can't see that happening.
So you're saying Chris Pine is out?
Chris Pine is out
for the time being.
And Chris
Hemsworth, who played his dad in the 2009 version, was
both
going to be
of them.
It was going to be a time travel story, and they were both going to be in it now or not. As of now, that could change.
I heard what it was that the budget of the Star Trek films is nothing like superhero budgets.
No.
So
which is weird.
Negotiating their contracts, they were negotiating to get that kind of money. Like
you think of as these huge movies, but really compared to the Avengers, they're much lower budget.
Which is crazy to me. If you've got the part of Captain Kirk, which is the part of a lifetime,
right.
You would even let your agent say, "Nope, he's not going to do it."
Yeah.
Well, I'm not a big Star Trek fan, to be quite honest. If you believe,
I'm sorry about that, Garrick.
Your stupid minds. Stupid. Stupid.
So
not enough orcs in it, I imagine.
Yeah.
Not enough Death Stars or X-wing
I didn't
fighters.
say anything about Star Wars. I just have never. I don't dislike it. I'm just not one that walks around going, "Oh, next Star Trek movie, yay!"
I am.
Yes, and that's great, and I appreciate that. That's great. I watched something, and you'll probably have no idea what I'm talking about. But I was at Best Buy, right, getting stuff for this podcast, and I had a $30 rewards ticket.
Just burning a hole in your pocket.
Absolutely. No, I didn't
Gotta use it.
I didn't even know I had it. So I go to the front to pay for the stuff, right? And the lady says, you have $30 rewards. Do you want to use it? And I'm like, absolutely, I want to use it. So I walk around looking for a DVD. And normally for $30, I'm not going to. I want to buy episodes. I want to buy a TV series because that's more value in that. So I see Ash vs. the Evil Dead.
Right.
Season 3 just came out.
Which will unfortunately be the last season.
Yes.
Right.
Well, it's funny because I watched the first one, and of course, I'm a huge Evil Dead lover.
Right.
Bruce Campbell's the bomb. I love it. I loved everything. And you know what you're getting when you get into the Evil Dead.
Army of Darkness was better, but Evil Dead was...
No, well, but they're all the same kind of concept. The camera's tilting. There's blood. Everything's real effects. There's no... There's no... But so then I watched the second season, and... I think halfway through the second season, maybe I became desensitized. Maybe I'm getting older. So I see the third DVD box set, and I'm like, that's what I'm spending money on. I watched the first 3. Granted, they're only 30 minutes,
right?
And I don't. Maybe I'm just old, but I was like, it was almost too much for me.
Right. It has gotten like the first season was pretty bloody. The second season had Lee Majors as his dad. It just got ridiculous, and it was like literally just they were trying to up it every episode.
That's got to be good with Lee Majors.
Lee Majors as Bruce Campbell's dad is just perfect.
He's still doing stuff.
Yeah,
wow,
and he looks great in it too. Like he doesn't, but it's a very very violent show.
And it's and it was loud, and it's almost like they never eat. There's not really the arc. It just starts in with the
It starts at 10. Yeah,
and it never goes.
Has nowhere to go.
Yeah, it really doesn't, and it doesn't even bring you down for a minute. And it's funny because like by the 4th show, I had to cut it off for a while, and I'm like, dude, I can't, man. Like that, it's almost too much.
I've noticed like when I was in my early 20s, it was whatever. Like if it was a weird violent movie, I had to see it. And when I got in my late 20s, there were some movies where it's just like, why am I watching this? Like there were some, just like I could be doing something else with my time. And I still, as the two of you know, I still like violent movies. But there's some movies like I still have to. It still has to be a good. I'm more discerning now. I guess is what I'm saying. Like it has to be a good movie.
Right.
There's something like
you're discerning about your violence.
Exactly. When I was like 21, 22, like Italian cannibal movies. Super violent Japanese gangster movie. It was whatever, But now that I'm a little bit older, it's like, some of that stuff. Like, I don't really need to see that,
Right? Yeah, and I think maybe that's what it is. As I get older, I'm like, dude, I don't need to.
And also, some things
just the chainsaw is going through, and he just decides to shove it through the dude's stomach like 16 times instead of 2, and they show it the whole time.
I prefer the Hitchcock version where you show the chainsaw and then you cut away to see a reaction of it.
You can't do Ash vs. the Evil Dead.
And also, it intends some of those things impend entirely on your mood at that moment.
You're right, and maybe that's what it was. Is I was kind of distracted, and I didn't. The chainsaw and the loud noise and the blood and the stuff just weren't really in it for me. So you should probably. So you keep up with more movie news. Why not a third? Why not a 4th? People just not tuning in.
No, we're not tuning in, but it's a really expensive show. Shot in New Zealand. Like you said, all the effects practical.
All practical.
Maybe like a hair digital, just enhancement, not really digital effects. But just enhancing the practical effects digitally a little bit. But like really expensive, and plus, also it went for 3 seasons, which for a show like this, that's actually a pretty long time. Yeah. Most horror shows don't last that long. Yeah. And I think it was just, compared to what they had to spend on marketing and everything, it just wasn't cost effective. And Bruce Campbell, like a lot of fans, were pissed off. And this week, Bruce Campbell said, the fans should kiss Star's ass because no other channel would have put this show on. He said, just be happy with what you got. You got 3 seasons,
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I look at it.
Yeah, and that's a good call. That's a good call. All right, I'm gonna break for a minute. Okay, so.
Just don't let him.
All right. Well, I also, since your last video, the last go out and rent this video segment.
Did you go out and watch it?
I did.
Did you?
Yeah, I did.
What did you think of Brawl on Cell Block 9?
I absolutely loved it.
Right.
I loved it so much that the next night.
Right.
The next night, my wife's brother came over, and we started drinking liquor.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, not always a good thing. And we went down to the neighbor's house.
Right.
About 3 or 4 drinks in, and I'd never been there, but he hangs with some people that don't like me. I don't. There's nobody that I don't like. I like everybody. But so I just decided, with Vince Vaughn in my head, that I was going to start talking like I was going to beat some ass. So here I am, like, mimicking to this guy who's never met me.
Yeah.
This, like, tough guy, to the point where he asked me where I was from.
Yeah.
He said, "You don't sound like you're from here. Are you from up north?" Because I was
You ain't
just
from
like,
around here, are you?
I will take that face and smash it. Like, I was just completely, but I was so, like, inspired by that movie, man.
Right.
I really, really liked it. Like,
Yeah, I love it. I do. I watched it probably 2 days ago. Again,
it's great.
It really is.
The beginning when he beats that car up.
Yeah, which that was all him too. Like they rigged the car for him to destroy it, but like when he puts his fist to the headlight, that's all Vince Vaughn doing that. You know,
Really? He
Yeah.
just punched that stuff up?
Yeah, and like they rigged the hood so he could rip it off, but the rest of that's just him. You know, in the movie, the filmmaker I would think it compares to with like early Walter Hill stuff.
Yes.
Which is
That's exactly what I thought.
Minimal dialogue.
Yeah.
Not no flashy cam work or anything. It's just like the story and just sort of a hard boiled crime story.
Hand me that DVD because I did not watch it.
All right.
Behind the 8 ball on this one. I will watch it though.
You should definitely watch that.
Lee has this big ass box of DVDs here. It's amazing.
It's very violent, like very violent, and it builds.
Thank you, sir.
It builds very. It builds. It's not even a slow build. It's
No,
it just kind of gets into it.
And there isn't I would say, I wouldn't even say it's an action because there isn't a ton of action.
No.
But when the violence is on screen, you remember it.
Yeah,
You know,
and that last, say, 30, when he goes
Oh, yeah.
from the one cell block to the next one.
Oh, yeah.
Don Johnson
It's great.
Oh,
the
he's
warden.
fantastic.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
where did he come from? I'm like,
Yeah.
when they have him outside and,
Yeah.
and they give him his stripes, and he says, "There is no other place to change."
Yeah.
You just look at Vince Vaughn, and he's holding these folding clothes, and he kind of looks at him. You just know he's like, I'm going to kill you all.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, but the whole cast is good. Like Jennifer Carpenter, the actress who plays
Oh, yeah.
his wife, she's great.
Yeah,
I mean-
man, it really is, Mark. You should check it out. It's not your kind of thing, obviously, but it's not bad, and I think that you would this one you would definitely appreciate.
I'll give it a shot.
I don't know if you'll like it, but you might appreciate it. And but it's just I really like I said last week, it felt like that was a movie like they just made it for me.
Yeah, and I don't know how long it took them to shoot, but it was
Not very long. I think like a
simple.
month, like maybe a few weeks. You know,
There
like so-
wasn't many cuts.
No.
It was straight, like lots of master shots.
Right.
And, man, it was great.
and the
those
fighting
fight
is
scenes-
very believable.
Yes,
You know.
I was thinking that there wasn't really any fancy
No.
cinematic spins. It was and when he took a punch or he took a pole over the head,
Yeah.
you could feel it that he was taking it. But
Right.
he's just such a badass.
And just like the dialogue, it's so simple. Like when he's at the end when he's fighting the Mexican mafia guys, and the one criminal says, "I'll give you so much money to kill him." Vince Vaughn just says, "You should ask for more. They could have spent it on your funeral." And just like it just has this simple, like
like that one scene where you said we're gonna have the
prison guard in the original prison.
The prison guard says, we're going to have problems with those muscles. And he's like, no, just use them to pick things up.
Yep.
He's just very nonchalant. And when, he finds out his wife was cheating,
Yeah.
he beats the car up, and then he comes in and he's calm. And
It's
he
like
says,
yeah,
"I'm gonna
once
fix
he
all
deals
this."
with something,
Yeah.
it's like once he destroys the car, he's not the anger is gone. He's not even mad at his wife.
Yeah.
He just wants to know what the situation is.
Absolutely.
And,
It is a great movie. And I anybody that likes this kind of thing, I've actually called 4 of my friends and sent them that DVD cover and said, watch this. 3 of them have come back and said, effing awesome.
Yeah,
This is great.
This is Craig Zahler. I think that's how you say his name. It's his second film as a director. His first movie was a cannibal western with Kurt Russell called Bone Tomahawk.
Yes.
Which
I actually was going to go check that out.
is actually way more violent than this movie. But that's the weird thing. It's kind of like this. The first 75% of it is just a western, But then once they get into the caves and the whole system with, like, I guess you wouldn't even say they're, like, I wouldn't even say they're Native Americans. They're more like, they're just cave people who somehow existed in these cave systems undisturbed. And it's like a horror Western, but it's not, there's nothing cheesy about it. It's not like some, it's, the Western part is played perfectly serious, and the horror part is played perfectly serious.
Does it take place in the 1800s?
I'd say about 1880.
Okay.
And like Kurt Russell, Richard Jenkins, Matthew Fox, who a lot of people know from Lost. It has a great cast. But that last 20 minutes is, like, even when I watched it, I was like wincing. I was like, oh my God, it's very rough.
And that was called Bone Tomahawk.
Bone Tomahawk, yeah.
Okay, well, there you go. So we've given you like 6 different movies now.
Was that the go rent this movie now?
Really,
Bone
No,
Tomahawk?
no. I have a separate movie. Right?
He's got another movie. So now you've got, if you like it violent and nonstop, you have Ash vs. the Evil Dead out on Blu-ray. The season, go get it.
All 3 seasons are out.
All three seasons, and if you like The Evil Dead, you must watch it. But please please hit us back and let me know if you think that it might be a little bit too much.
But the 3rd season does end, I think, on a good note.
Oh, absolutely.
It doesn't leave you hanging.
Absolutely.
The final 2 seconds of it are
it's
just,
great.
it's exactly what you want.
So I have a debate.
Okay.
So last time we talked about Disney. Right, we talked about Disney and the cussing in Disney movies.
Right.
So now I'm going to be a complete and utter hypocrite. I had an argument with my son, my 10-year-old son, on when he was going to be. It was going to be old enough, or he was going to be old enough to watch a couple of the old, not the new horror movies,
right?
But the old horror movies, the slasher movies. If you could take. Well, hold on. I'm going to give you something. If you could remove the sex from those movies, the naked girls and the sex that come with the Friday the 13th,
right.
The Halloweens, when do you let your 10-year-old son watch those?
Well, let me ask you a question.
Why is violence okay and sex not?
Yeah, like I've never really understood that. Like when I was a child, like when my older brother showed me a Playboy when I was about your son's age, it didn't immediately turn me into a serial killer just seeing a nipple.
Didn't turn you into a pervert.
Exactly. No, that was there to begin with.
I saw my dad. My dad had a Playboy with Bo Derek, and she was in the mud with the monkeys.
She had the braided hair and everything from 10.
You remember this?
Yeah.
Yes. So that was my first, and I don't think I've been the same since, which is why.
Well, I say this. I think it's different for every kid. And also it's different now than when we were kids. Because when I was a kid in the 80s, I watched R-rated movies all the time. And my parents really, unless it was something that had a huge amount of nudity or something like, my mom wouldn't let me watch Scarface or something. But she, like Die Hard, Friday the 13th, like, in a weird way, it's like we had more freedom to watch things now. Like my niece is 13. I don't think she's ever seen an R-rated movie.
Now with the internet, there's nothing they haven't seen.
That's true.
I mean, you get more sex in a music video than you do in some of these.
But even though it's like Netflix, so let's take Netflix.
Okay.
There are things on Netflix like Brawl and Cell Block 99's on Netflix. Most kids would not, even if they were looking for a movie, they would just scroll past that movie. Whereas when I was a kid, this is how movie obsessed I was even as a child. I would get the TV guide and I would go through the movie the guide at the back. Yes. And I would circle all the movies. Even if we didn't have cable when I was a kid. So, but there was a movie like, God,
I love that TV.
Friday the 13th 4. I would circle that, and even if I couldn't see it, it was just to remember that it existed, and like when I was a kid in Charlotte, there was a channel that had at noon they showed a Godzilla movie. At 2 p.m. on Saturday, they showed a Kung Fu movie. And I think there was a double horror feature starting at like 10 or 11 o'clock at night. And that's just what I do with my Saturdays. I had a VHS tape, and that was blank. And that was what I did as I recorded those movies and watched them.
On the 6-hour version, so you can get it
exactly.
6 hours.
All right, so you're saying that my 10-year-old son, I could sit him through Friday the 13th?
I don't know, because like I said, I was watching stuff that would be inappropriate for your son before I was 10. So I don't know that.
And look at you now.
Exactly.
So,
but
that's
what I'm saying.
Argument.
But I don't know that. Like I said, because I was exposed to it, I didn't think anything about it. Whereas your son has never seen anything like that, so he would have a completely different. And also, parenting is just different.
Well, he knows it too. It's funny because he knows we were.
Yeah.
He was looking at something. It was actually Friday the 13th Part 3. He actually came into the office, and
right.
I have it on. And I'll explain that later. But he got to a scene, and it was two people messing around on the sofa, but it didn't show anything. It just showed feet.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And he looked right at the TV and said, "Dad, Dad, Dad, Dad."
Yeah.
Like he knew he wasn't supposed to watch that.
Right.
So I, of course, was like, "Oh, cut it off."
Yeah.
And then I started thinking about it. I was like, how the hell do you know what that was? How in God's green earth did you know that those feet moved around?
I think it's because of the images and the music and just maybe the sounds. You just know. Like when I
yeah, there's a lot of factors that
exactly. And like when you're a kid, and you're watching a movie by yourself, your mom will walk through the room when there's nudity. That's an undisputable fact. You can watch a movie that has 2 seconds of nudity, and your mom will walk in the room when
you're like, "Mom,"
yeah, and you just feel uncomfortable. You know, I mean, I don't know what it is. It's like, yeah, first of all, how do they know to walk through at that moment?
Yeah,
you know,
right.
Because you think that your parents still don't know that you know about sex.
Exactly.
So.
That's it. My dad, he's like, I'm an old fogey, but he just said this the other day. We were talking about the last episode. We're talking about Walt Disney, and he's like, all the cussing, it doesn't need to be there. And he just, movies like Pulp Fiction and Quentin Tarantino movies and stuff, he just can't.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying.
He still has yet to watch my first film. Because the first... Mark knows
the language in it. Yeah.
The language in it. He could not. Now, he came to the premiere of the second one. There was absolutely no dialogue in that one. And he showed up. But he watched the first... maybe 5 minutes of my first one and cut it off because...
Does your dad swear in...
Oh, no.
No?
God,
So, well, see, I respect
So he
that.
has a bigger problem with the language than any sex that...
See, that's what I'm saying. It's a personal thing. Like, your dad doesn't swear in real life.
No, he doesn't.
So to him, that is objectionable, which, you know...
He will never listen to this fucking podcast.
Exactly.
See, Dad, that was not me. Don't cut it off.
Watch your fucking mouth, Mark. Come on.
So here we go. So, hey, but at least we're like 15 minutes into this. So
right.
He's cut it off. He didn't wait 5 minutes. It's going to be 15 minutes.
Hey, you already said cunt, so he's already done it.
Yeah. Oh, well,
I don't like, but it's going back to the thing about your son is like, there are some kids who are, kids now, you probably could show them. I think it's a child by child basis. And by parent by parent basis of whatever you think is appropriate. Because there are people who are parents now who are like your dad who would think that was completely inappropriate.
Oh, absolutely.
So I don't know. I mean, really, first of all, I don't have kids, so that's,
Well, they've watched, it's funny, I don't have any problems with the cussing.
Yeah.
Because they know, they 100% know, they don't cuss.
Right.
They know it's bad. And so it's funny because my wife will say, she gets mad at me because every now and then I let it slip because I've got a terrible mouth. And my buddy Doug was over at the house. We were talking about this, and my wife was like, well, Garrick always cusses in front of the kids. They don't know any better. And he says, well, wait a minute. He says, are they cussing?
Yeah.
And she says, no, they don't cuss. They know it's bad. And he says, then what does it matter?
Yeah.
And he says, well, who gives a shit then? You know what I mean? And that's the truth. So maybe you're right. My wife thinks that my son's going to be a serial killer. So maybe waiting a couple more years for Friday. I don't know. I think they're harmless. Well, I saw my first one. My first one was Friday the 13th Part 2.
Right.
It was at my friend Danny Nealon's house. His parents worked all the time, and they had HBO, and they would record all these movies on VHS.
Right.
And I watched it, and that bag and him running through the woods with the pitchfork scared the shit out of me. I didn't go in the woods by myself.
I'll give you another example. When I was a kid, and I first saw David Cronenberg's remake of The Fly. None of the Fly stuff bothered me. When he's like I just thought, yeah, that can happen. But when he arm wrestles the guy and breaks his wrist, and you see the wrist bone popping out, that disturbed me to no end. The puking acid on people, I could have cared less about that because I guess I knew it wasn't real.
Right.
But the when he broke that guy's wrist, that seemed like something that totally could happen. Because I saw, like, maybe the Olympics before that, a gymnast come off he like spun and landed, and his fucking bone popped out of his leg.
Oh yeah.
And to this day, I hate anything that has compound fractures in it.
I think the movie that always stayed with me was I was 11 years old and saw Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds.
Right.
And that scared the hell out of me.
Yeah.
And Well, I guess the main violence in that was the birds pecking at the faces and pecking eyeballs out and stuff like that. But that one's the one.
It's a very creepy movie.
With me when I was a kid.
Yeah,
it is a very creepy movie.
And also, like I said, at that time, that was the most explicit thing you'd probably ever seen. Yeah. So, like I said, I don't think there's
Hitchcock didn't do anything that explicit until. I mean, that was probably the most explicit because even Psycho.
No, there's no real violence.
You don't see the stab wounds going in or anything. You just see the blood flying up on the shower curtain.
All right, so maybe I'll show them 2 of the movies,
right,
and skip past.
Have you tried like a? I don't know.
What about Texas Chainsaw Massacre?
Well, see, there's no real violence in Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
It's just creepy.
I laughed at that movie.
There's when it was banned in England, the censor over there, whoever was in charge of that, said it was the tone of the movie that he found objectionable. So, like I said, I really don't know. I actually think that's a creepier movie, a more disturbing movie in some ways than the Friday the 13th movies.
Oh, it's 100%. It looks real. It feels like it's real.
So I don't know. It
feels like it's really happening.
You know.
You laughed at that?
I did.
You don't think that wasn't like felt like somebody was just filming that real life that was really happening?
When I see horror films, I'm not able to suspend my disbelief that much. I saw it at a drive-in the first time I ever saw Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and I thought it was amusing. So that's just me.
I mean, hey, that's it. I get it. I 100% get it. So,
it was kind of ridiculous to me.
What's ridiculous?
Running around with a chainsaw. Come on.
What's ridiculous to me is fucking Rob Zombie films. Because as I was sitting around this week, rewatching The Lords of Salem and watching 31, just to make sure that I was absolutely certain that those 2 movies, I wouldn't wipe my ass with the DVD cases.
What did you think of them?
They are fucking horrible, and that's the only words for it. They're terrible. If I gotta sit, Lords of Salem, about 45 minutes in, there are zombies masturbating with dildos.
Right.
And there's a scene that he keeps using where there's a goat with some fire in the background.
Right.
And I'm like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
It may be the worst.
For one thing, zombies would not masturbate with dildos. They have no feeling.
It was terrible. Here's the problem with Rob Zombie. I think that Rob Zombie is an incredible art director.
Right.
I think that his shows are great. His website's great. He's got the graphic design. He's got that look, the art direction down.
Right.
But his scripts are an abomination. I've got 4 pages of the Halloween script right here on my computer.
I think we should read some lines from it.
Oh, should we? Should we do that? Let me see if I can do that. But the Lords of Salem. So 31. I don't know if anybody's seen that movie. If you saw the Arnold Schwarzenegger movie, The Running Man.
All right, based on a Stephen King story.
Yes, that's the 31 is just a really bad version of that.
It's just Redneck Running Man.
Yeah, yes, it is definitely redneck. Yes, that is perfect. Yeah. It is the Redneck Running Man, and it is god awful. Okay, so here is some of the script from his movie. Okay, here we go. Sitting at the kitchen table waiting for breakfast, we find Deborah's current abusive loser boyfriend, Ronnie, a long-haired grease monkey with a broken left arm and a heavily bandaged right arm. This is the first dialogue of the Halloween movie. Hey, don't you disrespect me. Oh, fuck off. Oh, really? Fuck off. How's this? Did I mention that their new waitress over at Bingo Lounge keeps giving me the look? I guess I'll just have to make my own fun tonight. What, the whore with the big saggy monkey tits hanging down to her knees? Hey, be my guest. Jump on them, slap them around. Do people really talk like that? Would you really talk to your wife like that? Maybe I will. Maybe I'll fuck the shit out of her. Well, have a good fucking time. I fucking will. Oh, nice. See what you did, fucking loudmouth? Come on now, boo. Fuck you. Fuck you. Hey, newsflash. What's that baby fucking doing? Okay, so with that said, that's Halloween, and that's probably his best movie.
I would say Devil's Rejects is his best movie.
Okay, yeah, maybe right. The Lords of Salem is gibberish. There is nothing. It starts off with his wife naked on the bed. She's tired. She's got braids. She's a part of a radio station DJ. They get an album. It's called Lords of Salem. They listen to it. It's a bunch of gibberish, and it fucks everybody up.
Right.
And the rest of the movie is zombies masturbating, goats running around fire, baby monsters coming out of wounds.
Good stuff.
And the lady from Cujo.
Right. Dee Wallace.
Dee Wallace running around killing people because she's a witch.
Right.
None of it makes
Spoiler
any
alert.
sense.
No, I'm just kidding.
There is no spoiler because you don't ever want to see this movie.
Rent this movie now.
Yes.
No.
And in fact, if it wasn't on Shudder and I was paying $5 a month for that awesome channel, by the way,
right.
You cannot beat nonstop horror for $5 a month ever. The only reason that I even watched that and even even wasted another hour and a half of my time on a Rob Zombie film is because of that.
Your ass was wiped with the DVD.
And then to follow it with the crappiest 31 I've ever... The first 15 minutes is some asshole with some blood on his face talking to a preacher smoking a cigarette. It's the same shot, and it would be great. See, sometimes that works with the good movies, good dialogue and good acting, but when you have none of that and you sit on one shot for 10 minutes with some dude looks like a clown that actually probably copied the look of the Joker from The Dark Knight, you just know it's terrible. So Rob Zombie, dude, do me a favor. Your music sucks. Your movies suck, but they all look great. Just keep doing the art direction. Have your wife or somebody else direct the fucking movies. Your movies suck.
Just keep doing what you're doing, Rob.
Yeah, keep doing. Yeah, no, don't. Yes, yeah.
God bless you, Rob.
Yeah, God bless you.
No, don't keep doing what you're doing.
Look, I've seen every one of his movies, and I own a couple of them. I am not saying there's not something appealing about it. I think it's the stylist.
I think at this point he's just bored. I'll be honest with you. Because he's tried to make a couple different... We actually talked about this in a text. He tried to make a couple different non-horror movies, and they haven't come together. So at this point, I think he's just like, if that's what people want, I'll fucking give it to them. You know, it's like Michael Bay at the... I think after a while, people just got so... people kept shitting on him for just making these mindless action movies. He was like, okay, I'll make Transformers 7 and make $1 million. I don't give a shit.
Pain and Gain was fantastic.
Oh, yeah, it really was.
And it had Michael Bay all over it.
That's true.
However, it wasn't effects. It was
that's
actually
true.
a well-written script.
But look at the probably the box office for Pain and Gain. And also, The Rock. I think The Rock, his second film, I think The Rock's actually a great movie. With Sean Connery.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, he can't, but I just, I think it's like, no, we'll go back to Rob Zombie. Like, I've read about 2 movies. Like, there was a movie we talked about where it's about like the last 2-3 years of Groucho's life, where his roommate was this like teenage kid who was like the head of the Groucho fan club. It was like him and Alice Cooper in the 70s. They just hung out in his house all day and like played golf. And he wanted to just make a movie about, because all the killers in his first 2 movies, House of 1,000 Corpses and Devil's Rejects, their character names are characters Groucho played in movies. So he's obviously hugely, a huge fan of this, but he can't get the money to make that. They just wanted to make 31. So
that's because his scripts have too many F words in them.
That's true. That's what your dad would say.
So the studio needs to write the Groucho Marx movie, hand it to him, and be like, "You want to do the Groucho Marx movie?
Yeah.
Here, have somebody else direct it, and you can just art direct it."
Right.
How about that?
No doubt.
And you may be right, man. Yeah. And hey, he's a talented dude. Like his music, I listen to his music in the gym. I like his stuff. Like, I get it. I don't know why the scripts are bad and the story's bad. And you may be right. Maybe, and he's probably like, if he ever listens to this, which he will never, if he ever retorts on this, he might say, "Hey, Garrick, F you, I'm bored." You might be completely right.
Right. He's just phoning it in because he knows he can make some money with his name attached to it.
Right.
So.
I mean, yes, because...
That's what we were talking about last week. There are certain people, like me and you, if there's going to be a new Halloween movie, we're going to see it. There are certain people, it says directed by Rob Zombie. They will see it no matter what.
Absolutely. Yeah. I read 400 of the comments underneath both of those movies on Shudder. After you watch the movie, it's like Facebook. You can comment. Mm-hmm. There are people going, "This is an amazing film." Those people are idiots.
They ate paint chips when they were a kid. Somebody
has been huffing paint. Because They must have eaten mushrooms, bad mushrooms,
Yeah.
to watch that movie to
Right.
think that it was amazing, because it was.
But also, taste is subjective, and there, you know.
Taste is-
They're like, Rob is an artiste. You
You
just
know?
don't know what you're
Yes.
talking about.
What? Yes, zombies sitting in some sort of machine, and they're doing this in front of her with a red dildo. Like, I'm like, what is that? That has nothing to do with.
What if
Oh my
what if
God.
it's not that he's just bored? What if he's just fucking with people? What if he's just like, will they stop me?
Yeah,
If I
well,
do
let me just do as most disgusting stuff
Yeah.
as possible.
It's like, because his first film was made by Universal, but then they refused to release it and sold it to, I think, Lionsgate. But when I saw when he was promoting the movie, his original thing was, it's called House of a Thousand Corpses, and my last name is Zombie. What did they think they were getting? So, it's like,
yeah, and he may be right, and
Yeah.
that's why he's doing a Devil Rejects prequel
Yeah.
or sequel.
I think it's a sequel.
Sequel, that's right.
Which I don't really understand, which we'll get to that. if we
Well,
ever
it's
review
funny
that.
because 31, you read the story on 31, and 31, nobody wanted.
Right.
Nobody wanted after
It was released via Shudder.
Yes.
Yeah.
After Halloween 2 bombed, and the credits, the critics came in with that, and that was terrible. And then he did Lords of Salem.
Your favorite movie.
Yeah, Lord, and I'm going to say this, Rob Zombie. The reason you didn't get to make 31 at a studio is because you made Lords of Salem. You should have done something else.
Yeah.
So anyway, so he's on Kickstarter trying to get money to make 31.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's where it is.
Right.
And it's amazing because 31's soundtrack, he probably spent more money licensing the music in that. The
Yeah.
70s music in that,
Right.
Oh,
in
yeah.
that movie than he did spending money on the fucking movie.
Right.
It was that bad.
Yeah.
It was terrible. So there you go. There's
you
my.
go.
Don't get me started for the week. Rob Zombie, stick to what you know.
Send all your negative comments to Garrick Lane, P.O. No.
Here's another Shudder comment. That movie is not fantastic. There is nothing fantastic or amazing or great about any Rob Zombie movies. Period.
Stupid! Stupid!
All right, so let's get into it. What's your? You want to do the? Let's do the Midnight Drive-In review. Tim Dyke.
All right.
You want to introduce it?
Sure. It's we watched this week. We just finished watching a movie from 1990, I believe. No, excuse me, 1989, called Cohen and Tate. It's sort of an action thriller directed by Eric Red, who some people may know as the screenwriter of The Hitcher and various other films. And all his films, sort of similar to The Hitcher, they are sort of like all twisted, like, you know, road trips. You know, like all his films have some sort of automobile, you know, aspect to them for some reason. Or a lot of them do.
Probably because they're cheap.
Probably because they're cheap.
It's
Yeah.
probably cheap.
And it's this young boy has witnessed a mob assassination, and the FBI has him hiding out in the middle of nowhere in Oklahoma. And just in one random day, these two mob hitmen, played by Roy Scheider and Adam Baldwin, who are, you know, the Cohen and Tate, the film's named after, show up, kill everybody except the boy, and they're taking him back to be not interviewed, but to be, you know, questioned by the mobsters who are the people who killed the person who he witnessed. So, and it's basically just like a road trip from hell. Like it's
Yeah, and it starts to unravel, you know,
fairly quickly.
Fairly quickly.
Yeah.
Mark, what do you think? You're the particular guy. What do you think
With a
about
name
this?
like Cohen and Tate, I was expecting a movie about a law firm or something, but it started out slow.
Let me ask you a question, Mark. If someone were to someone to ask you if you recommend this movie, what would you say about it?
Yeah, I would recommend it. It held the attention. I was sitting there on the edge of my seat the whole time. It was a good movie.
It's a very well made movie, very slick movie for what it is.
The violence wasn't over the top.
No,
like the last movie we reviewed.
When you think about it, there really isn't that much violence in the movie.
Yeah.
You know, although when it does get violent, there is, you know,
the bullet coming through the cop's head. You know,
right.
It was very well done.
Yeah, at the beginning, one of the FBI agents takes it pretty bad. It's pretty. The effect was pretty cool. He comes through comes through the glass, and through the glass he comes, and then all this blood splatter from going through the glass goes through, and it was. So yeah, it's a little bit violent. I liked it. It builds well. I don't like it because It's a lot like our first film. There's a couple of dudes rambling off in a car for 20 minutes, and then it ends badly for, it ends badly for both of them. And
Spoiler alert.
This one's the same way.
Yeah.
It is good. It's a nice I think there was some nice touches. There was a part where Roy Scheider, who is always good. I mean, he could have done what was that movie David Lynch did where Homeboy rode on the lawnmower?
Simple Story.
The Simple Story.
Yeah.
I mean, Roy Scheider put Roy Scheider in a field watching grass grow.
Yeah. My favorite is All That Jazz. He was just brilliant.
Yeah. So he's great. And Adam Baldwin was great as the nut. I think it was.
He plays it a little big. He plays it.
He definitely plays.
He's not being
he was
subtle.
over the top. Yeah. And chewed a lot of gum in the movie.
Chewed a lot of gum, and
I think that was Hubba Bubba.
But the young boy is played by an actor. I'm not sure if he was ever in another movie named Harley Cross, and he's actually really good, except the fact that he has the world's thickest Southern accent.
He does.
And but I mean, he's actually throughout the trip from Oklahoma to Texas, he plays these two guys off against each other very well.
Yeah, I know. I think it was very well for a movie that was an hour and 20 minutes. For 60 plus minutes of that, to be taking place in the same 3 shots in a car, a master shot, close up of the kid, close up of Roy, close up of Adam's character. It was good.
Yeah.
It's really a psychological drama because the way the kid is playing these two guys, when the kid realizes that they're not going to kill him, then he all of a sudden decides to expose the weakness of both of these guys.
Basically, he has until they get him to Houston to deal with the situation because he knows once he gets to Houston, he's dead. Yeah.
But until then.
And also, I'll say that the two actors, Roy Scheider and Adam Baldwin, they actually seem like two guys who could be hitmen. Like you see in a lot of movies where you got somebody, it's a cool movie, but there's someone terribly miscast. You see them holding a gun, and they just look like that person would never fire a gun. These guys, they actually seem like they know what they're doing.
Yes.
I actually found myself kind of wanting the kid to get some kind of revenge on these guys, even though it ends badly the way it does.
Right.
You actually found yourself at times kind of feeling bad for Roy Scheider's character. Yeah, I think. And,
he's definitely.
You never felt bad for Adam Baldwin.
No, he's definitely the most sympathetic of the two.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was nothing.
But the action's well done. Like I said, shot well. Music by Bill Conti. It's everything in it is just right. Is the thing I would say.
And when the 9-year-old, when the kid looks at Adam Baldwin's character and calls him a pussy. Yeah, that's when you pretty much lose all respect for that guy. Yeah. You really do. And I believe
that's what really threw him over the top.
It really did because I think doesn't he start crying after that? He's he's so balled up. This character's so like.
And Roy Scheider's character he's a professional hitman. Like he doesn't hate the people he's killing. He doesn't necessarily want to kill them. That's just what he gets paid to do.
He does.
He's about 60 years old, I'd say, in the movie, and just that's just his job. Adam Baldwin's character, he would be killing people if he wasn't getting paid for it. Yeah. He just happened to luck into the job.
We don't know who he's sending this money to. There's a point in the movie where Roy Scheider sticks a bunch of cash in an envelope and drops it in a mailbox with a woman's name on it, and so we never find out if that's his daughter or his wife. I don't know if it really matters, but. He's sending this money off
I assumed it was either his daughter or like an ex-wife.
Because I think he knew that he wasn't going to get out of this alive,
right?
And so the cash went into the mailbox.
Yeah, it's a very just tense movie,
Yeah,
and
you should check it out. You should go. Well, you can't get this on Netflix or.
Now, as far as I know, you can buy it, and maybe I don't know. There's probably you could be able to stream. You could probably rent it on. Amazon or on iTunes or something for like $1.
Cohen and Tate.
Yep.
It's an old movie from the 80s. And it's... Well,
we didn't do the rating. What would you rate it, Mark? Is our scale 1 to 5?
Yeah, we're 1 to 5 stars. I'd probably give this...
Buckets. Do popcorn buckets.
Yeah.
Okay, I'd give it 4 popcorn buckets.
Okay. Very nice.
I enjoyed it.
Wow. So better than the Kill List.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, this is definitely more Mark's type of movie. And we should just say that Mark actually picked this movie out of the box of DVDs.
Well, you know,
Randomly, I closed my eyes and picked the movie.
You know, Mark was in the heyday of his life. He was like 30 when this thing came out.
Yeah.
So you know, it brings back nostalgia, right?
Yeah. But I would agree with you. I would give 4 out of 5.
You give it 4?
Yeah.
All right, I'll give it 4 too.
Yeah.
I think it was great. It's like I said, it's hard to do to put 4 characters or 3 characters in a car and do over 60 minutes in that same kind of scene and keep people's attention. And the ending is much better than I during the climax. I'm going to get the Hollywood ending where. You know, one of the characters is going to let the kid go, and he's going to put his hands up, and he's going to be like, "I love you, kid," and You don't get that. It's completely. The ending is completely off. It catches you off guard.
Right, but it sticks with the tone of the movie. It's the right ending.
Yeah, it is the right ending.
It was the right ending. Yeah, because with all the guns drawn at the end, which spoiler alert, I'm not going to say what happened, but with all the guns drawn at the end, the way it ended was appropriate, I think.
Yeah, that's the best word for appropriate.
Definitely appropriate ending. And it doesn't seem like Hollywood recut it.
No.
All right, so now, what's your go rent?
My go
rent this movie now.
Is another. This actually movie is still on Redbox. You actually can go rent this movie.
Oh, wow.
It's a movie from late last year, similar to released about the same time as Brawl and Stuff Like 99. It is Small Town Crime with John Hawkes, Anthony Anderson, Robert Forster.
I love all those guys.
Octavia Spencer and Clifton Collins Jr.
Anthony Anderson, really?
Yep. And
the trailer's fantastic.
John Hawkes he's actually Octavia Spencer's sister. He's adopted, and he was a guy. He was a cop. He was never a very good cop. He's sort of a lifelong fall down drunk and gets kicked off the force, and just sort of one night wakes up in a field from a blackout drunk and stumbles upon a body, and just sort of. This is sort of the inciting incident for him. Like he can, even though he's no longer a police officer, he knows that since he has that experience and those skills, he can deal with this situation in ways that police officers can't. And it's very much in the vein of like private investigator movies, like Robert Mitchum and Humphrey Bogart movies. Yeah. But it takes place in a more rural setting, So,
how old is this movie?
Brand new. It's 2017.
Okay, great.
Yeah. Less than a year old.
I love those guys. Well, yeah, I thought it was funny. I have not seen it, but I'm sure I will now because if it's anything like Brawl or if it's
not as violent as Brawl, though there is some violence in it, and it's definitely more I won't say lighthearted, but there's a lot of humor in the movie.
Yeah, I noticed there was one scene where in the trailer where somebody's like, "Are you drunk?" and he's got a gun pointed and he says, "I'm comfortable."
Oh no, he at no point like in movies where you have a guy who's a drunk and he's like you see him pour out the whiskey, he's like I'm done drinking. That never comes up. He's gonna drink forever. He's one of those guys just like drinking is just his thing. Like in the opening of the movie, he wakes up and he starts working out, but he's got a beer with him. He throws up in a trash can, takes a swig of beer, just keeps lifting weights. He's just like he's a sort of an unrepentant drunk, but he is a really good investigator.
Robert Forster, that's an
he's great in the movie. Yeah. He's I guess the thing I can say about the movie is that none of the there's a character who's a pimp in the movie. At no point do they try to judge that character. They don't judge John Hawkes' character for being a drunk. It's just like everybody is just And there's a scene with the pimp character who's talking to the girl who he was the pimp was the pimp of the dead girl from the beginning. And he's talking to one of her family members, and she's like, "I can't believe you would do that to my granddaughter." And he's like, "Man, when I found her, she was sleeping with dudes in a truck stop parking lot." He's like, "What?" He's like, "Don't worry about what I did." He's like, "What did y'all do to drive her to that?" And the pimp, he's like, I just dealt with the situation. Like I said, it's just it's not really a morality play like that. It's
not very long. This movie is 92 minutes.
Yep,
and
the perfect length.
Was it in the theater?
Yeah, limited release, okay. But it's just, I've watched it probably since it came out. I probably watched it 4 times.
Small Town Crime.
Yeah, I really enjoy it. It's a much more palatable movie than Brawl and Stuff Like 99.
Okay.
Yeah.
There you go. go get it. It's new, so you can actually get it. It's not from the 80s and have a guy that killed a big shark in it.
Right.
It's the good stuff.
Yeah.
It's the good stuff. Okay. Okay, so while it's definitely not going to be a movie that I'm going to be able to watch when I'm editing. So
No.
So I got a funny story. When I'm editing productions, I have to have a movie on.
Right. You're not the only person I know that does that.
It's like a metronome.
Yeah.
To put a movie on a TV over here.
Yeah.
But really, you're only listening to the movie.
I'm not really even paying attention, but it's there, and it actually keeps me moving. The only problem is it has to be a movie that I've already seen a gazillion times. Like, for instance, Bull Durham and movies like Bull Durham and Ed Wood and California.
Or else you'll constantly be looking at the screen.
Right.
If you haven't
It's
seen
what
it. Yeah.
movies that I know by heart
almost
that
like-
I could, like,
Yeah.
I can visually see it while I'm listening to it and still do what I'm doing.
Right. It's playing in your mind.
Right.
You put in Glengarry Glen Ross because that dialogue is
That's
excellent.
right. I actually have that here. I actually brought that over from the house. But what's funny, so I decided the other day I put in Enter the Dragon.
Right.
And of course, it didn't really do the metronome because I hadn't seen it in a while.
Yeah.
And I start kind of glancing over to it. And it's funny because I forgot, so that movie's not very good. But
I haven't seen it since the 70s, and
Right.
back then I thought it was excellent.
It's
So
very-
I'm going to
but
revisit
it's
it.
okay.
I will
go
revisit
ahead.
it and let
It's
you know.
very of the moment. Well, one of the things I love about certain genre movies is Enter the Dragon is a time capsule of 1973.
Yeah.
The clothes look like that. Like some
Oh, yeah.
movies, go back to the Evil Dead movies. Like Bruce Campbell just wears a blue shirt,
Oh, right.
brown work pants, and work boots.
In every one?
Yeah, those clothes could be from any time.
From any time.
Right, so he's not dressed like he's from 1981.
Correct.
Yeah.
But unlike the characters in the like John Saxon is dressed like a rich guy from 1973.
Oh, that's right. The bell bottoms.
Right, but had that movie been made in 1968 or 1977, everybody would look completely different.
I love John Saxon.
I do too.
He's so much like William Shatner, the
Yeah.
overacting and stuff.
And
I think that's what it is. I think that the movie's good, but I think that I think we discussed this, but because it's Bruce Lee,
Yeah.
it has a different aura to it.
Yeah.
The movie is
he elevates it. Well, I would say the entire cast: Jim Kelly, John Saxon, even Shin Khan, the guy who plays Mr. Hammond.
Yes.
It's greater than the sum of its parts.
yes,
And
Okay, so Bruce Lee or Jackie Chan?
well, see, those are two different types of.
yeah,
Because Bruce Lee is like Elvis; it's all charisma.
Yeah.
Whereas Jackie Chan is like, it's all
dance.
It's all dance, and it's all
It's
him.
Buster Keaton.
He's Buster Keaton, exactly.
Buster Keaton,
which
It's
you can't really compare.
Charlie Chaplin versus Elvis Presley.
Yeah, you can't really compare that.
Great comparison.
Oh, they both did like younger women. But anyway, that's a whole other situation. But yeah, it's really like the director. Actually, this is something I just learned recently. Robert Klaus, he was almost completely deaf, which is why he only did action movies. And he had his assistant would just pay attention to the dialogue, and they give him a thumbs up or a thumbs down as to where the dialogue went well. And since they recorded most of it in Hong Kong, they probably weren't recording that much dialogue to begin with.
Because it was all ADR.
Yeah,
it
they were
was
gonna
all
dub
done
it.
after
Yeah,
the fact.
and you can tell in some of the shots with Bruce Lee when he's like,
Yeah.
why don't boom, gun to the head,
Like-
shot to the head.
Yeah.
And Shin Khan didn't even speak English. The person who does his voice is, I cannot remember the actor's name. He was the antique shop owner from Gremlins.
Oh yes,
I cannot remember his name.
know
but-
who you're talking
Yeah,
about.
he was in a million movies. He was
Yeah.
in the old Charlie Chan movies.
he was on Golden Child too.
Yep, he was exactly. He's the monk in the Golden Child. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And but he actually dubbed because Shin Khan couldn't really. He spoke sort of broken English, and so he wasn't even acting. I mean, he was acting, but he wasn't talking really during. He was probably just saying whatever.
Yeah, just doing. Oh wow, yeah,
Yeah,
that's
or saying,
crazy.
maybe just saying it in like Cantonese or something. He might not even have been speaking English.
It's like that stereotype where you see that their lips are moving wrong,
Right.
and then it's dubbed over in English.
Well, the reason why that is because Chinese. There's no Chinese, Cantonese, or Mandarin. Either one don't have a Latin base like most European languages.
Yeah.
So when you say "I'm going to kill you," they say "I'm going to kill you" in Chinese. What they really translate is "I'm going to go forth and show you my influence." but it translates. It's the same thing, but they just like
Yeah.
the words are completely different. So
It's more formal. with
yeah,
their
it really
killing.
is, and
I'm going to formally kill you.
exactly.
I'm going to show you my influence.
Yeah, and so really, like, there's the language
Don't you
is
ever
so
say
different.
that to me again.
But really, when you get around to it, it's not even like a martial arts movie. It's more like a James Bond movie than it is.
Yes.
And really,
Yeah.
like the story is.
It's not like Jackie Chan films that
Yeah.
are, like Drunken Master.
Right.
I mean, The Legend of Drunken Master.
Yeah.
Maybe
Well, the
my
second
fa- Now, it's not the best kung fu movie ever, but I am a huge Jackie Chan.
the second Drunken Master Legend is. I would put that up against any martial arts movie.
I think so. Like,
It really is phenomenal. And but I've actually not seen the movie. Robert Klaus, he directed a movie. It's based on a detective novel. I can't remember the name of it. But William Smith, he played Conan's dad in the first Conan.
I love William
Arnold's dad.
Smith. He was in Any Which Way You Can, or
Right, exactly.
Every Which Way But Loose.
He was the bare knuckle boxer,
Yeah.
and that's who they wanted to play the John Saxon part. But William Smith is he's like 6'6". That would have just looked ridiculous against
Bruce Lee.
So that's why John Saxon basically got cast, because he was shorter, whereas William Smith would have just
John Saxon's like my height.
exactly
about 5'8". Yeah.
And Jim Kelly, I think, basically just got cast because he was the American karate champ at the time.
Yeah.
And
Good-looking guy.
Good-looking guy.
Yeah.
Not the best actor. Actually, like a country club tennis pro when he wasn't acting.
Oh,
Yeah,
was it?
Jim Kelly. Yeah, and like apparently a phenomenal tennis player.
So Garrick, did you watch Enter the Dragon again? Did you?
Well, yeah.
revisit?
I mean, I glanced at it. I'd go in and out.
Yeah.
But I think.
And you don't think it holds up as well
It
as...
does. It does. But I think that Bruce Lee is the
He's absolutely the
duct
reason.
tape.
He is the reason.
Of it.
He
If you
holds it
take
together.
if you take Bruce Lee out of it and you put Jason Statham from
Yeah,
the Meg or
it doesn't work.
it doesn't work.
And Bruce Lee's the only actor who people talk about him like he's the character in the movie. Like before the show, Mark and I were talking about Steve McQueen. Like,
Yes.
I don't think Steve McQueen is Bullet. That is never, but I think Bruce Lee, he could actually do the thing his characters did.
Steve
Right.
McQueen is Papillon. But
Right,
that's another
exactly.
conversation.
Exactly. But when people talk about Bruce Lee, they're not talking about the character. Like when I talk about Dirty Harry, I'm talking about the character Dirty Harry.
Right.
In a Bruce Lee movie, I'm just talking about Bruce Lee.
Yeah, right.
He is bigger than the movies, bigger than the the characters.
Yes.
I agree with that.
There's actually
Bigger than the Green Hornet.
exactly yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
But just to show you how big he is, in Bosnia, I want to say it's in Bosnia. They had the Civil War in the mid to late '90s. Now there's a statue, like a giant statue of Bruce Lee there, because they think that symbolizes sort of the post-war racial unity of the country. That's what they picked as the symbol.
Wow.
Because really, like, Bruce Lee's like Batman. You could show a picture of this to like a 13-year-old in Afghanistan, and they'll be like, "That's Bruce Lee."
He's just universally respected.
Exactly, he really is. Like, there is no other actor like that that's that big. Like, he's as big as Elvis in some places.
Oh, yeah.
He's a cultural icon. So yeah, the movie it's dated.
Yeah.
Mr. Hand's plan is basically it's synthetic heroin. So his plan is methadone. Not really sure how that how he's going to take over the underworld with that, but because their heroin still exists. So that does,
Yes.
But anyway, it doesn't really matter.
The whole movie was written around the final mirror scene.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
what we need to do is come up with a story
Yeah.
where Bruce Lee has a climactic fight at the end.
Right.
That's it.
I assume when the writer's name was like Michael Allen. I assume when he came up with that idea,
He started with the ending.
he was just done for the day.
Yes.
He just came up with the coolest idea ever, a fight in a hall of mirrors, and he was like, "That's it."
And you write it in reverse. You start with
Exactly.
the ending and work your way forward.
Yeah.
Yep, Universal, I think, or who? Yeah, it wasn't
Warner
Universal.
Brothers.
Warner Brothers came
Yeah.
and said, "We're going to do this kung fu movie.
Yeah.
And we're going to get Bruce Lee."
Exactly. Well, that was it. All built around him
Yeah.
because Raymond Chow, who owned
Golden Harvest.
Golden Harvest, he did not want to do the deal because Bruce Lee was the biggest star in Hong Kong.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So he's looking at as these American guys taking his star.
Yeah.
And Bruce Lee basically forced his hand, like, if you don't do this, I'm fucking out of here. Because that's what Bruce Lee, people talk about, Bruce Lee was American. He was born in San Francisco, but raised partly in Hong Kong. So that's why he's sort of thought of both as an American and as a, Chinese icon. But, he really didn't start, he only made, what's weird to think, another thing to think, he only made 4 movies.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean,
Yeah.
his life ended very
I
short.
mean, you think of him as this like he has this enormous filmography, but I don't even count Game of Death because that's not really a finished movie.
Jackie Chan did 40.
Yeah, exactly.
And broke every bone in his body.
Yeah,
and he'll never meet.
As far Jackie Chan, he's huge star and I love him. In some ways, he's a better actor. And
Sam Young Fat.
That's who Bruce fights at the beginning.
Yes,
is Sammo Hung.
Sammo Hung.
Now, wasn't there a sequel to Enter the Dragon? Was there a Return of the Dragon?
No, Return of the Dragon took place. Yeah. That's the one where he fights Chuck Norris.
Okay.
That was actually made before this.
Okay.
Yeah.
I did not see that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That takes place in Rome. It's that's just a straight kung fu movie. My favorite film of his is Fist of Fury.
Yes.
Yeah. I think that's his best movie.
All right, so Bruce. All right, so then there you go. There's our matchup for tonight: Bruce Lee in Fist of Fury versus Jackie Chan, Drunken Master.
So Drunken Master is Jackie Chan.
Yes.
Okay.
Jackie Chan, Drunken Master.
Yeah.
All day long.
Right.
I think he beats him.
But that's the thing. We're talking about a fictional character. That's how big. Well, I was talking about how big Bruce Lee. We're talking about a fictional character. We're not talking about. Lee, the character from Enter the Dragon. Right. We're talking about the actual Bruce Lee.
I will never say that Jackie Chan beats Bruce.
That's how badass he is. We have to put him against a fictional guy who basically has a superpower.
Yes.
So really, it's Bruce Lee.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes.
Oh, that's good. Okay. All right, I'll pause and we'll do our announcements. We'll be done with some of this. All right, so announcements today. As we spoke, some of our soon-to-be sponsors or sponsors, Shudder. You must get it. If you are a horror fan, you must go to Shudder.com and you must pay $5 a month to get unlimited films of horror. And let me tell you, there's some on there that you'll recognize, and then there's some on there that you won't recognize. And then there's some on there that are just plain different.
Right.
I watched the Cat movie, and I can't even remember the name of it. Yeah, something about We Are Cats.
I've not even heard of that.
Yeah, well, don't. It was terrible. But the fact that I could watch, while I was working on some graphic design stuff, I watched 5 movies off Shudder.
Right.
Back to back on my computer, and that's just like fantastic.
Exactly. And they have TV shows on there.
Yes.
They have documentaries. I mean, for the money you're paying, you're getting a tremendous value. And it's not just straight horror movies. They have thrillers. They have a couple of action movies, sort of violent action movies. But it's all. I mean, they compare because I actually first subscribed. I was actually one of the people who I actually got a beta test subscribe thing where you pay $5 before it went live, and it has vastly improved. Because as soon as I heard about it, I went to the website and put in my email address, and they sent a thing about a month before it went live. I've subscribed to it because they sent it out, I think, several thousand people. Like, movies would play without sound when it first started. Like, there was one movie I was trying to watch, it just fast-forwarded through the entire thing. Like, it was very rough. And it's a service owned by AMC Network.
Oh, that's AMC?
Yeah.
Oh, wow, okay, I didn't know that.
And it's, like I said, for $5, you cannot beat it. They have, black and white films, foreign films, films from the 70s and 80s, brand new films, TV shows. We were talking about... the Evil Dead show. There's a show on there now called Todd versus the Book of Pure Evil, which is a Canadian show which came out. It's like, okay, if you thought the Evil Dead show was too much, Todd the Book of Pure Evil is because it is just a straight comedy show. It's actually very similar because it has a Necronomicon type book, but they're just idiots. Like, it's basically like, just a teenage comedy with horror elements in it, and it's a hilarious show.
No, I'll have to check that out.
Yeah.
Definitely have to check that out.
So that's Shudder, not Shutter.
It's Shudder.
Shudder.
Right.
Yes, like close your shutter.
No, that would be Shutter.
Like Shudder with fear.
Something I'm always interested in is the AVL Scarefest. It's October 19th through the 21st. It's like a retreat for nerds. And guys like me who like to play D&D, like to play Magic, if you like to play... any kind of board games, role-playing games. This is like a weekend retreat up in the mountains. They go to a college. They close you in like 4 different rooms. You sign up for different games that you want to play. You get a whole weekend pass. If you want to run a game, you get a discount on your weekend pass. You really got to check it out. It's avlscarefest.com. My company's actually filming it, so I'll be up there. You got to check it out if you like gaming, or heck, if you've never done D&D, you've never done anything like that. This weekend would be that weekend. Get dressed up, put some blood, wipe on your face, put some blood in your mouth, and go up there and have a good time that weekend. It's really fun. You'll love it. You got anything?
I do. Let me mention this last episode, but I'll mention it again. The Ardsley Grand Theater in Charlotte, starting the last week of September through the first of November, they're going to be showing 2 horror films a week. The first week it will be Night of the Living Dead followed by Lucio Fulci's Zombie 2. Then the second week, starting September 28th through the 4th of October, will be a 3D print of Creature of the Black Lagoon, and the second feature being John Carpenter's The Thing. The third week it will be Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness. The fourth week, something for people who maybe aren't huge into violent horror movies. They have The Craft and Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the original 90s movie. And then the October 19th to the 25th, they have 2 comedies, Ghostbusters and Young Frankenstein. And the last week, the week of Halloween, they have John Carpenter's Halloween and Dario Argento's Suspiria, both of which there's a sequel and a remake coming out.
Great.
So yeah, I think it's $5 a screening. So really, it's cheap.
I gotta go see.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm gonna insert this. I'm gonna redo this because I had to cut it last time, and it was a good little thing.
Right.
I've got to see that Creature of the Black Lagoon.
I got to see it in 3D. I
remember when it came out on TV. My dad we couldn't find 3D glasses, and we had to go to Newton. We had to drive this convenience store in Newton and get the little red and blue glasses.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh! It was like the first movie ever. We watched it TV, black and white, black and white 3D movie. But I remember that. I've got to see that.
Oh, I got to see it as well.
I just found this, the Full Bloom Film Festival. It's happening on September 13th. I think it's 13th through the 15th, but I was just scrolling down here and noticed that this year's festival will have a thriller-themed midnight movies session.
Nice.
As well as a number of films made by North Carolina filmmakers, so you might want to check that out.
Yeah, we should go down there and see those guys.
The 13th through the 15th in Statesville, the Full Bloom Film Festival.
The Full Bloom Film Festival in Statesville. And go to their website. It's fullbloomfestival.com. You can see the movie rundown. And maybe we could all go and show and watch a bunch of movies and then come back here and tear them all to pieces like I did the Rob Zombie movies. Or maybe they can just get on their Midnight Drive-In review and we can be like, hey, it's great. You need to watch it. Some things going on at the Golden Ticket Cinemas. August 31st through September 3rd, they are running The Greatest Showman. $5. I don't know if anybody knows about The Greatest Showman. The movie's mediocre, but the soundtrack is to die for.
I love The Greatest Showman.
My kids are still listening to this soundtrack. And they listen to it so much at the beach that the rest of my family actually went to see the movie because my kids were so excited about the soundtrack.
I'll tell you this. We have a mutual friend named Jacob, like me, huge action and horror fan.
Yes.
He told me that was the most fun he'd had in a movie theater in years. He loved that movie.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I have not seen it, but I am going to go with my family to The Greatest Showman $5 event at the Golden Ticket Cinema, and I'm going to watch it myself. And I'm going to see what the hoopla is about. Also going on at the Golden Ticket Cinemas, let me make sure I get this right. They have on September 1st, they are going to run The Princess Bride. $5
Fantastic.
Fantastic movie. Who cannot... Saturday at 7 p.m., September 1st. It's the Princess Bride movie. And then one more thing. Monday through Thursday, any movie before 7 o'clock is $4.50.
You can't beat that.
You cannot beat that. Dolby Stereo, reclining seats. Go down to the Golden Cinema 2 in Lenore. Check out these movies. Tell them Midnight Drive-In, Garrick Lane sent you. I guess that's it for this week. What do you think?
Sounds good.
All All right. Well, we appreciate you guys listening, and we'll be back. We'll be back soon, so make sure you clean up your mess around your car. We'll see you next time.
You've been listening to the Midnight Drive-In. Join us again next time when we'll hear Garrick say,
That was the dumbest ending ever.
Stupid!